Hi, this is going to be a little story time with Mark as we talk about, among other things, the pace of publishing. Once upon a time, let's go back in the Wayback Machine to, mid 2022. I was on book tour with Wendelin. We were up in the Pacific Northwest somewhere. I think we're in Seattle, actually. And I was contacted by my agency. Actually, it was the Foreign Rights Department of my agency. And they let me know that they had placed my upcoming book, which wasn't out yet, the 909 Project, with a foreign publisher, which was really exciting to me. Most books, honestly, don't get foreign publication, don't get translated or anything else. It's kind of a secondary income stream, secondary market around the world. It's a wonderful thing, and I was really excited about this. The only downside was that the publisher was in Russia. And again, this is summer 22, so this is not that long after the beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So at that point, I wasn't really, I'm still not on Team Russia in that particular event. And I was excited about the sale, but I wasn't excited about the fact that I went to Russia and I had to do a little soul searching to decide what to do about it. Should I just refuse to do it, or should I? Anyways, I actually talked to my editor about it, my U.S. editor at Random House, and she basically said, well, she thought the young people in Russia could use this book kind of more now than ever, in light of what's going on. And she had no dog in this fight. In other words, Random House didn't have foreign publication rights, so it didn't matter to her one penny, one way or the other, if it was published in Russia, translated or not. There's no skin off her nose either way. That was kind of her opinion. And I really respected her, and I valued her opinion. So I decided what I was going to do was, well, let me back up. Foreign sales, a little inside baseball here, okay? What I usually say when people ask about the advances from book sales, like to a U.S. publisher, I don't like to talk specifics, but I usually say for most of us that aren't huge household name type authors, the Stephen Kings and stuff, but for most of us kind of average, normal people, especially if it's a debut or you're relatively unknown, a major publisher in the States will generally, it's not going to be new house money. It's going to be maybe like new car money. Okay, so foreign sales, what I say is it's generally not new car money. It's kind of like used car money. Okay, and Russia, even though it's a pretty good sized country, their advances are not the biggest. Like Germany is smaller, and Germany has bigger advances, right? So, anyways. The advance wasn't massive. I could have bought a 2002 Subaru with it, and then taken my wife out to dinner. That was probably about it. But I felt really bad about the whole situation with Ukraine. So what I ended up doing was I found a organization that was funding publishers and people who worked in publishing in the Ukraine who had been put out of work due to the war. There was this whole thing set up. And they were giving money to people that had lost their jobs, people in publishing that had lost their jobs. Kind of like a GoFundMe, I guess. Anyways, so I ended up giving the majority of the advance to them. Again, it wasn't $1 million, back to them. And a couple other places that I thought it would be useful. So fine, I did that. And Russia was the first country to kind of jump on board with this. And after that came Poland, and then after that it was translated into Chinese, actually a publisher in Taiwan. So I expected that the Russian book would come out first, and that the foreign copies from Russia would show up first, and that was not the case. So this is about the pace of publishing. So the Polish book came out first, and they sent me my copies right away. The contract will say like 4 copies, and I usually have my foreign rights agent bump it up to 6 because I love those copies, and I know a couple of people who might enjoy them also. And the Polish people gave me the book came out, and I got my copies, And then the Chinese edition came out, and I got my copies. I think it's right here. This guy, this really interesting cover. This is the Chinese version of the 909 Project. Oh, I think there's Polish versions over there. It looks like the American version quite a bit, except it's got these interesting flaps that are yellow, and it's very cool. Anyways, the Russian book was the last one to get published. It came out not that long ago, maybe a year ago. It actually came out, but I never got my copies. And so, I politely mentioned it to my foreign rights agent, and they're wonderful. They're on the ball, absolutely. The foreign rights department at Curtis Brown is honestly, they're second to none. Anyways, and they bugged the Russian publisher and back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. The book's been out there for like a year, but just recently, this showed up. I haven't opened it yet, but I know what it is because it's from Moscow. So I'm pretty damn sure I know what it is. So these are going to be the Russian copies, I hope, of my book. And there's no way there's 6 copies in here. There are probably 2, and that's all I'm ever going to see. That's fine. Oh, there's something else I forgot to tell you about the way the Russian publication thing works. So when you sell a book, again, more inside baseball, but when you sell a book to a foreign country, first of all, you have a choice. You can either let your publisher, your U.S. publisher, you can sell them foreign rights also, and they can turn around and try to sell your book, and that's fine. But especially if your agent doesn't have a strong foreign rights department, that's probably the move to make. But if your agent has a good foreign rights department, like mine does, I held on to foreign rights so that my agency could try to sell it over there, and they go to the European book festivals. They go to Bologna and all those things, and they sell the rights there. And when that happens, what happens is the sub-agent in the foreign country gets 10%, and your agency gets 10%. So that's a total of 20% to the agents. But there's 2 agents, so they're each taking, in a way, they're each kind of taking a little bit of a cut, because an agent generally gets 15% of what you get from your publisher, but they each take 10, which it's fine by me. And I absolutely could not make a book deal, negotiate a book deal, or even I don't even know how to contact a sub-rights agency or a foreign publisher in a foreign country like Poland or Russia or China, or I couldn't make that happen on my own at all. Anyways, and then Russia, which has something they do a little bit different than the rest, is they say, well, we have to hold about half of your income for taxes, because we don't know, you're across the world, you're in America, this terrible capitalist place, and we don't know what's going on, so we're going to hold on to half your stuff for taxes. And if you don't want to do that, you have to fill out this really, really long form, and you send it off into the giant bureaucracy that is Russia. And it takes a year or more, and whether or not they decide to actually, you're actually legit, and we're not going to double tax you. But somebody who with a lot of experience advised me, absolutely don't do that. It's not worth it. It'll take you a year or 2, and there's a really good chance you won't get your money anyways. And so most people just kind of like waive that. So I waived that, which took my advance from somewhere in the mid 4 figures to the lower 4 figures. Anyway, so again, that's dealing with Russia. But I was still super excited to get the books translated there. And one of the most fun things about being an author is when a foreign edition comes out and you get to hold it in your hands and see it. And there's something about that's just really, really cool. It's probably like when the very first time you hold a book that you wrote, physically hold it in your hands. There's something very cool about that. And holding a foreign edition in your hands is kind of that same feeling. it seems weird and kind of unreal and a little bit different. Anyway, so let's experience that now. Okay, so it's kind of backwards. Interesting. This looks like the American version. Yeah, except it's got shiny letters, and the hair and the camera. The hair is very dark, and the camera is dark with the little lens in the middle, and shiny. So this has actually got that cool gloss on part of the cover. It's very glossy. The arms are glossy, and that's glossy, and oh, this is really cool. And it has those double flaps, like foreign books. They're kind of halfway between a hardcover and a soft cover. This is kind of like the only cover. And there it is in Russian. Oh, there's a picture taken by the amazing Robin Godfrey, a wonderful photographer who took my author photo. And so, yeah, this photo has been in China, Poland, Russia. It's been around. Anyways, so the deal was struck in sometime before the book came out. So sometime, I don't know, September or October of 2022. And then Poland and then China. And then the Polish book came out, and then the Chinese book came out, and then this book came out sometime in Russia, sometime in, I believe, 2025, this edition. And then after several nudges from my agency, I got a couple author copies, and you know, here we are in 2026. So that tells you about the pace of publishing. It also tells you about the value of having an agency that has a strong foreign rights department. But mostly it says kind of like good things come to those who wait. So as always, and people sometimes ask me, somebody asked me, well, more than one person has asked me, like, how do you make that happen? And again, I have to say, I really can't make that happen directly. I can't be the proximate cause of it happening. That is due to having a foreign rights agent or having a publisher with a good foreign department. The way you make this happen, going back to the root cause of this, is you have to write a book that's universal enough that people around the world are going to be interested in reading the story, even if they've never heard of this, you know, small town in California where this book happens to be set, or maybe your town in New Mexico where your book is set, or up in Canada, or wherever it is, Guatemala, wherever your book is set and whatever it's about. If the story speaks to kind of the human condition in such a way that people across the world are going to be interested in your story, that is the necessary step that has to happen, the first step that has to happen for it to get translated across the world. And then, of course, somebody other than you has to, you know, who knows all of the ins and outs, has to do the good work to make all that stuff happen. But they can't start with nothing. They have to start with a story that has some sort of universal appeal, which is why I always say the answer to everything, the answer to all this shit with publishing, all the heartaches of publishing and the pain in the ass and how slow it is, and on and on and on, the only answer is keep writing.